guys, welcome to this episode of Context is King. I'm Rebecca Brayton, and with me as always is WatchMojo CEO and founder Ashkan Karbasfrooshan to discuss genderless voices, which is quite a hot topic for me anyway, as a non-genderless voice. But anyway, so some tech guru has created a voice of no gender. And the article is, what is it? It's the digital voice the world needs right now.
Interesting.
Interesting
title, first off. So, when we said, should we tackle this, I thought it would be futile for me to comment without asking members of the LGBTQ community. So I reached out to a few who in the past have kind of called WatchMojo out for various things and kind of said, I'm going to be doing a show, what do you think? And the reality was most of the people I talked to said that it was more of a, it wasn't necessarily something that they viewed was in need. And it was more like something that was the punchline to, really? Like, is this really the number one thing that we need to focus on? And I would actually agree. I would assume that it's only really important, let alone need, if that community says this is something that is important to us. And if they're not, it does seem like it's something either that someone is creating or a journalist is, writing something about to kind of put out there and, frankly, not even necessarily go about it the right way, I feel.
Right. Now, the article does say, the idea is to pressure the tech industry into acknowledging that gender isn't necessarily binary, a matter of man or woman, masculine or feminine. So, I mean, I think I heard it on SNL actually, like for example, the New York City subway has two different voices, one for the stops and one for instructions. Because
that makes sense.
I think women do the stops and men do the instructions because people are just trained to listen to instructions from a male voice.
Authority.
Yeah.
Interesting. So SNL is your source of factual.
Wow.
No, okay, that actually makes.
I don't live in New York.
we are conditioned like Pavlov's dogs. I'm not surprised to hear that. I think absolutely we are like we do typecast what those voices should be attached to. So I understand why somebody would want to come up with a genderless voice. But what I find really weird is both this notion that you're going to pressure the tech community to do something. I feel that's kind of a method that will definitely not work. And I also feel like...
I feel like it's less, well, it does say that, but I feel like it's less pressuring them and more just showing them, here's a bias you might have. Acknowledge that.
Wrong way to go about with that audience. If you want to challenge the tech community, you don't go and tell them you should do this. If you really want to be smart, thinking you're going to outsmart them and then the tech community will outsmart you, it's more to say as a challenge, I don't think you can do this.
Yeah.
And then they may want to do it. But if you go out there and go, oh, look, you guys are bad, then then they're just going to accuse you of being a social justice warrior and whatnot. And it's not going to happen. And two, I do feel like the headline is total clickbait and from The Wired a bit disappointing because I read that whole the internet is losing their mind over this is what the world needs. I find all that so tiring. People could criticize us of what they want, but if we tell you it's a top 10 skyscrapers, it's a top 10 skyscrapers and not 10 things you need to, top 10 phallic objects that are growing out of the ground or whatever nonsense. That title alone makes me never want to pick up Wired magazine. What would have been more interesting is there a need for genderless voice in AI-powered, devices? That I would read, but just opening it up like that, I'm just like, this is, and the reality is, most people in industry, specifically technology guys, don't even take journalists seriously. They don't. I'm a columnist, but being in the industry, I think people are actually surprised, like, oh, this guy seems to know what he's talking about, kind of, because I cover and I write about industries I'm in, and then the people we work with don't like that, because they're like, hey, Ash, were you talking about us? I'm like, no, it was a general comment. But I guarantee you, someone who works in the tech industry and can actually build that is not going to be impressed either with journalists to begin with, especially that whole thing about forcing them. And so, I'm the CEO of a company. Ultimately, I decide where to, along with my team, we determine where to allocate revenue. I guarantee you, seeing an article like that says the challenge is to, not the challenge, the objective is to pressure tech companies to do that. Good luck.
Well, to be fair, the creator doesn't even think it's going to be like a default thing anytime soon. Is your Siri a lady?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And but I'm fine whether it's male or female. But there is something soothing about it being male or female, which is just maybe our bias. But
I mean, I switched mine to the male one.
You switched, yeah,
Yeah,
very
but okay, to be fair, and this is interesting, I didn't switch it to be male, I switched it to be British.
Fascinating. I do think that if you are looking for kind of an assistant, I could see that, again, very biased. I could see where the woman comes in.
That's the thing. They don't want to reinforce the stereotype that females assist and support people in tasks.
But if I think of I mean, I'm straight, but if I think of a companion, like if I'm like, I could see a male voice making sense. I don't think it's so much the assistant
or
factor.
I'm subverting stereotypes.
No, but stereotypes exist for a reason.
Yeah, no.
Nobody likes to admit
honestly,
that.
I really did it because they pronounce the French words that we need better.
So no, I don't think it's a need. And the limited sample size amongst the LGBTQ community also doesn't think it's a need. I'm just going to leave it at that.
What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you next time.